Good morning, everyone, and Tu B'Shvat Sameach. So, just a little bit about Tu B'Shvat in a halachic way. So, today is the 15th of Shvat, Rosh Hashanah La'ilanot, and what that means is that it is the cutoff date for different halachic situations, which we'll speak about. When it comes to the fruit year, this is the new fruit year. So, for instance, the mitzvah of Orla. Orla is that when you plant a tree, you're not allowed to benefit from it, eat its fruit for the first 3 years. So if you plant the tree a month before Tu B'Shvat, that's considered year one. Now that it turns Tu B'Shvat, it turned 2 years old. That's what it is. That's the cutoff for that. So that as well, and the reason why it's this time is also because it's the dead of winter. So nothing's really being planted now. So it's very clear to know, because if I would say in the middle of the summer, it's very hard. When was it planted? When did it start growing? So therefore, it's kind of like this is the dead of winter. So it's very clear to know what's before Tu B'Shvat and what's after Tu B'Shvat. This has to do with Teruma, Maaser, and so to make a calculation, I have to give 10% of Maaser to Levi. Where does that come from? Where does that year start and stop? So that is Tu B'Shvat. So just going through the 7-year cycle. This is we're talking about the trees of Eretz Yisrael, the Halachot, because these apply to Eretz Yisrael. Orla actually does apply to Chutz La'aretz as well. But just to go through some of these mitzvot, if it takes a little bit of extra time, maybe we'll cut out Mishneh for today, but we should be okay. So imagine a person. I like doing this calculation just to know what you have. B'ezrat Hashem, we'll be back in Israel soon with the Mashiach, how to do things. So a person, let's say he grows 100 pounds of whatever that fruit is. So you have to give 2% to Teruma. Teruma goes to the Kohen. So now you're from 100, you're down to 98. And then you have to give 10% to the Levi, 10% of what you have left. So that's 9.8 to the Levi, and now you're left with 88.2. Now, from the 10% that the Levi received, he has to give 10% to the Kohen from what he received. So if he received 9.8, he has to give 0.98 of what he received to the Kohen. Now back to you. So now you have 88.2, and now you have to give another 10%, and that is depending on what year it is in the 7-year Shemitah cycle. Years 1, 2, 4, and 5, you have to give that 10% to yourself. But that 10% is called Maser Sheni, and that you have to eat in Yerushalayim. That 10% you have to eat in Yerushalayim. We'll explain that in a moment. Years 3 and 6, you have to give that second 10%, the 10% of what you have left. So you had 88.2 left, so 8.82, that's that 10%. You have to give that on years 3 and 6 to the poor. In addition to the other mitzvot you're leaving for the poor, you're leaving the corners of your field. If anything falls when you're harvesting, if it's less than 3 pieces of wheat or whatever it is, then you have to leave that as well. If you forgot bushels of wheat, when you harvest wheat back in the day by hand, you had a sickle, one of those, like the Turkish flag type of swords, and you put your arm around the wheat, you cut the wheat, then you tie the bushel, then you leave it in the field. You keep on doing that, and then you go collect the field. You go collect them in the field. If you forgot some there, then you leave that for the poor as well. So this second 10%, years 1, 2, 4, and 5 go to Maaser Sheni. That's 10% for you to eat in Yerushalayim. What's the function of that mitzvah? The function of the mitzvah, says the Rambam, a beautiful explanation, is that if a person lives in Tzfat, lives in Tveria, so anyways you have to travel to Yerushalayim 3 times a year, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. Now, Yerushalayim was the place of inspiration. You had the Bet HaMikdash there, you had the Sanhedrin who lived there, that's the Supreme Court. So all the tzaddikim were there. When you go there now with 10% of produce to eat there and to spend there, you don't have a job there. What are you going to do? You're going to learn Torah. You're going to hang around with the good people. You're going to get inspired. So what's going to happen is, as the Rambam says, in every home there's going to be like a tzaddik. He's going to go to Maaser Sheni. You got to go spend some time there, a couple weeks. Then you go back, So what did he learn? What did he do? And he's going to tell his family, he's going to teach his family what he learned. And every year, 4 out of the 7 years of the cycle, you're going to be doing this. The father, next time, he'll send a son to go instead of him going. Next year, he'll send a different son to get inspired, spend a few weeks in Yerushalayim. It's an unbelievable thing to spread Torah from the nucleus of Yerushalayim to the entire Jewish nation. A beautiful thing. And of course, year 7 is the Shemitah year. So at the end of the day, what you're left with is 79.38 from your original 100 that you can do whatever you want with. And again, 4 out of the 7 years, that 10% you eat in Yerushalayim. And again, the cutoff date is Tu B'Shvat. B'Ezrat Hashem, may we be zocheh to go back to Eretz Yisrael with Mashiach Tzidkenu, the Beit HaMikdash, the Sanhedrin, all the brachot very soon. B'Ezrat Hashem. Minchat tonight at 5:15. Gemara Shiur at 8:30. Have a good day, everyone.